All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 6:59 PM. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there, sure, talking to the mic. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda is approved. Presentations, proclamations, and visitors. Are there any members in the audience or in person Zoom that would like to provide comments? Any items not subject to the public hearing?
I don't know if that's.
Oh, news.
If that person would like to speak or not, but I'm going to go ahead, Mayor, Council, just take the opportunity during this period to set up our budget hearings and explain a new process that we have, if that's okay. There's been a number of rulings over the last few years by the Ethics Commission on providing elected officials food and water was one example, or elected officials participating in budgets where they might get a stipend. Most of our council gets like $80 a month. And so tonight, when we do the budget, we're going to have to do something a little bit different. We'll have to do it for both public hearings. And at the beginning of the hearing, once it's open, the mayor will call for what we call disclosures. And that would typically be something that you would see in a land use hearing that we would do, where you would disclose a conflict. And we've created a statement, and it's read the way the legislature created the fix in Senate Bill, I believe it was 983. And it was for you to just basically say, you're disclosing that you're getting money. You're disclosing that you get this stipend every month, and it is under the legislative rules a conflict, but that allows you to then participate, deliberate, discuss, and approve the budget. And really what the law around disclosure is that you disclose. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you have a conflict or not. They consider the fact that you get $80, meaning you're going to get something out of the budget. It is a conflict, but everybody gets a stipend. Most cities pay their elected officials a little bit of money like that. And so it's called a conflict, but that's just what they call it in the bill, in the ORS. And that can be found, I believe it's in 244-120-120, where they wrote the legislative fix. So I just wanted to say that from the onset. It may feel a little weird reading this disclosure to you, but that's, as far as I know, that's what we have to do today to be able to proceed with the budget. So thank you.
Is there another law that allows us, or rule that allows us to have a stipend?
You're allowed to have a stipend. Yeah, it's just now, and it's never been an issue. I mean, this is the way cities have operated. What in the past, what you could not do was vote yourself in a stipend. You could vote in an increase, let's say for other council members, and then when those terms were reelected, that's when that would take effect. So you couldn't vote yourself in a raise today, but you could vote a position in a raise in the future. And you had nothing to do with your $80 stipend. That was actually approved back in 2010. So it's been 16 years since that issue has even been raised. But yes, council can receive some money so that you're not out of pocket expenses, paying all the out of pocket expenses to be able to come to your various meetings and your time. That's what that's for.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other comments? None? Okay. We have no presentations. Okay. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 4, the public hearing, state revenue sharing. What time is it? The council will now open the public hearing on agenda item 4A, certifying municipal services and state revenue sharing at 7:05 PM. General testimony and public comment. Are there any members of the audience who wish to provide comment on the public hearing? So there is none. Oh, okay. Now I close the hearing. Okay, the hearing is now closed.
Did you want me to just give a quick?
Oh, yeah, that seems really weird.
I think
Okay,
you
I'm not
missed
closed.
that on your agenda, but typically I do just
Yeah,
an
that was-
overview of what these are. So there's 2 resolutions. 0326 is certifying municipal services. And what that is we have to provide the state an election of services we provide our community because that determines the amount of state revenue share that we get from the various state funds. And then also, I think we're required to provide a certain level of services, and so they want to know that we're doing that. So that's what the election of certifying municipal services is. The second resolution is the state revenue share. That's a pool of money that comes into the city, and then there has to be a special separate hearing from the budget on where do we allocate those funds. And we do this at both the budget committee level and we do it at the adoption level per state law. And we don't get that much. It's a little over $50,000. The council has always directed that, I believe, into the park fund. We've never changed that because it's, the money that we use to keep and maintain our parks. And so, but if there was, a lot of testimony from the community to divert that money somewhere else, we would accept that testimony and then the committee could then decide how they wanted to proceed. And so that's really it. Mayor, you're welcome to discuss, close the hearing and move forward.
Not yet. Is there any discussion? Okay. Being none, we will now close the hearing at 7:08 PM. The hearing is now closed. Is there a motion for resolution 03-26?
Yep, I can do that. Lost my place. Sorry.
Or A.
So I just moved that I'm sorry, I'm off of the thing here.
Excuse me, we forgot the disclosures.
No,
There's 2 separate ones here, so I'm confused.
the disclosures are not listed right now.
I thought it was just for the budget. Is it for both?
It's for the budget.
I only put them on the budget portion, but that could have
I
been.
mean, I'm okay if we just do it for the budget, but I believe we're supposed to do it for both, but
We can.
it's a new process, so
We close the hearing. Is that all right?
I think before action has been taken, if we just read the disclosures, just to
Okay,
be. I'm
So you
sorry,
want to back up and read
okay,
those?
sorry, Mary.
before we
Okay.
do that. Okay, before we begin, the council is required to disclose conflicts of interest. I will start and then we will go with Greg and then work our way around. So let me go first. I, Mary Sarah, disclose that I have waived to receive a stipend of $110 per month.
I, Councilmember Hudson, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10. This was passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under local budget laws, ORS 294-305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
This one.
I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 0-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Local Budget Law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565. This is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this. I may participate in the discussion and vote.
I, Councilmember Sini, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under local budget law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
I, Councilor Member Cox, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 1-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under local budget law, ORS 294-305 to 294.565. This is considered a conflict of interest, and I'm disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
I, Councilor Member Wallace, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under local budget law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
Okay. So now is there a motion for resolution 03-26?
Yes, so now I will move that we adopt Resolution 03-26, certifying municipal services as presented by staff.
Second.
Okay, being a second, is there any further discussion? Being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on, is there a motion for resolution 04-26?
Yes, I will move that we adopt Resolution 04-26, declaring the city's election to receive state revenues as presented by staff.
Second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion? Being none, we move on to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to 4B. Okay, so again, we do the disclosures. So before we move on to the fiscal year of 2026-2027 for the budget hearing, we have to disclose again. I, Mary Saha, disclose that I have waived my stipend of $110 per month.
I, Councilmember Hudson, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under local budget law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
A stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Local budget law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565. This is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in discussion.
I, Councilmember Sini, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by then City Council. Under Local Budget Law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
I, Councilmember Cox, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 1-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under Local Budget Law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I'm disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
I, Councilmember Wallace, disclose that I receive a stipend of $90 per month as established by Resolution 01-10, passed in 2010 by the then City Council. Under Local Budget Law, ORS 294.305 to 294.565, this is considered a conflict of interest, and I am disclosing this conflict so I may participate in the discussion and vote.
My list says, and I think I just need to clarify that it is correct. It's going back to item 4A.
Oh, sorry, I copy pasted. I forgot to update
Okay,
those.
so, are we opening a general testimony and public hearing again?
It'll be for 5
Staff report, and then we can do general testimony.
Yeah.
Okay,
Gotta open it
I think
first,
we
though.
were trying to, we were tweaking stuff at the last minute, so I think we
Yeah.
messed your script up a little bit.
my Brenda show. Okay.
So
Sorry.
same thing, but for resolution 05-26
Yeah.
fiscal year 2026-27 budget.
Okay.
And I apologize for having you read that laborious statement twice, but I just wanted to double check. This is the first year we've had to do these statements, and I just want to make sure I'd rather do more than less. So apologies.
So we are on 4B. Want to make sure I say the right thing because this is messed up. Okay, so the council will now open the public hearing on agenda item 4B, which is the fiscal year, is that right? Okay, fiscal year 2026-2027 is budget hearing at 7:17 PM. General testimony and public comment. Are there any members of the audience who wish to provide testimony in person or on Zoom?
None online and none in person.
There is no public comment. Ron, are you speaking or are we closing the public hearing?
I will go ahead and just do a quick overview, just so members of the public know the history to get here, and that we follow a strict guideline under Oregon budget law. So once the proposed budget is developed, we have a series of public meetings. It starts with a public meeting that I host for the community, just to come in and talk about the budget. And I kind of give a budget tutorial on how the budget works and how to read the budget and understand the budget, and where to look for various things that might be of interest to various community members. And that I do pre-budget committee meetings so that those members could then come to the budget committee meeting and have that knowledge to be able to ask questions or focus the comment that they might have in the appropriate place. And then, of course, we have our budget committee meetings, which is a joint meeting between half community members and half city council. We go through the proposed budget, and the financial forecast, because we want to both look at what are we proposing for the year, but then can we afford that? And can we sustain that? Those types of questions. Or what are some things that we need to look at in the future? And we went through that process, and the budget committee approved the budget to move forward to the council for this action tonight. So just with that little bit of history, if council has any questions about the budget whatsoever, we can go into those details. I know you've seen them many times. So I'm not going to spend 2 hours going into them unless you ask me to, but nothing's changed from our approval at the budget committee level. And if you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer those.
My question was, has anything changed? Just answered it.
It's as presented.
As presented, all right. All right, so we can go ahead and close the hearing at 7:20 p.m. The hearing is now closed. We did the disclosures, so is there a resolution for 05-26?
I move to adopt Resolution 05-26, adopting the 2026-2027 fiscal year budget, making appropriations and imposing categorizing taxes, levying taxes at the permanent rate of 3.6327 per $1,000 as presented by staff.
Second.
Having a second, is there any further discussion?
No, except thank you to the budget committee and the finance people, and it was a really great meeting and presented really well, so.
So, all right, so. Okay, now we move on to a vote. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to number 5, old business. There is no old business. Agenda item number 6. Ron will come back and give his report.
All right, Mayor Council, thank you. In my report, there's quite a little bit of legislative summaries of various bills that were approved in this legislative session that might affect us. There's lots of bills that were approved. These are the ones that might have some sort of impact. I had talked in public comment period about the one bill that now allows us to give you, food and water as an elected body. So that's great that there was an elective fix for that, or a legislative fix under 4161. There's a number of public land use laws that were again passed in this legislative session. We've seen that in the last 3 or 4 legislative sessions. We're still working on the implementation of those into our process and code, but some of them really do take out a lot of the public process and land use in your community. I'm not a big fan of that. I think there's a lot of value in the public process in land use, and especially if people are neighbors to developments. And so under some of the new bills, that's going to change. And we'll have a session more in depth and talk about that. But it basically, as long as these are not conditional use applications, they can be subdivisions, but as long as they don't trigger a conditional use application, there isn't really an appeal process for either the public or the city, nor is there a public notification period, or it's just an administrative approval based on the quantifiable criteria in the code. So we continue to deal with those things and then try to balance that with expectations with the community. And we are doing that. There were some changes to the open public meetings law, dealing with, the special meetings issues or meetings outside of the public venue. And it seems the legislature's trying to tighten that up. Some of that is in response to a number of these new administrative decisions that were being made by the Ethics Commission. As you know, in the last couple of years, there's more fines that are levied against elected officials that have found violating the public meeting laws. And those fines are personal. The city cannot pay those by law. So if something happens and you have to go through that process. You're kind of on your own, unfortunately, because that's the way that the legislature was written. So the main thing is, group texts, phone calls, subsequential phone calls or discussions, are defined as serial meetings. So, it just strengthens some of that enforcement. So just, FYI for that for you all. And we can get you, some additional training on that. I'm sure LOC is going to have some training out on that. There's going to be a number of webinars, and if you want some specialized or in-house training, we can have somebody come in from the Ethics Commission, and they'll do trainings for cities. But I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that, so it was on your horizon. There was a bill, 1585, which lowers the barriers for state grants. And it's now got a sliding scale for match, which for us would be much lower than a lot of the grants that we've had to apply for. The disconnect with this, and one of the things that I had made a number of comments on when we were discussing this was the grant match isn't always the barrier for cities, smaller cities like ours. Coming up with the funds to finish the project is the barrier. So as an example, if we rebuild 2 blocks of a city street, and that's $500,000, the largest grant we can acquire is $250,000 through the state granting agencies. And so if our match is 5%, we still can only do a half a project. Now we could try to cut that back to a smaller piece, but then the smaller you make the project, then the more per foot you end up paying. And so you end up paying more cost anyway and getting less. So it's really difficult to do a big project for really less than $500,000 and meet all of the infrastructure requirements that we have to do. So that's the challenge that we will have. It's not necessarily the match. Oftentimes we have to put in more than the required match just to be able to complete a project. And I'm sure that there's a lot of cities that will benefit from this that are maybe a little higher in population and economic base than we have, that don't necessarily have a problem doing that, or they have other resources they can leverage, but that's going to be the difficulty for us there. Wastewater, our wastewater facility upgrades continue. We work a lot behind the scenes. I wish you actually saw the daily activity that happens with wastewater. You might have the impression that, we're waiting around for something. I guarantee you that is not the case. There's rarely a day where we're not dealing with either some grant management, administrative rule, dealing with agency approvals. There's a big coordination that goes on with having 5 different funding agencies. And some of our funding agencies that have federal requirements, those requirements trigger through everybody else's money. So even though the 7 grants or funding agencies that we have don't require a lot of administrative work, the 8th one does. And so we can't spend any money, even the other 7 contributors' funds or grants, unless we meet the requirements of the 8th. So having said that, you can imagine it's a lot of coordination, and we're doing that work. And I will say, between our engineer, Chris, who's been phenomenal on this project, Matt, who's taken the lead from the Public Works Department because of his project management and background in wastewater and stuff, and Steve and Kirsty and myself, we're all kind of juggling that. But if we put this on one person, it just wouldn't. There's no way we can make it. We can make it work, but we're all working on that, and it's working. It's a lot of work, but it's working. We did submit a park grant application with ORPD, and that was based on our direction from council on some of those goals. for next year, so we submitted that application. And most of it is to do Mill Creek Park upgrades, although we do have other projects in the works. Some were funded in this year that's ending in the end of June. We've got some grants from Marion County through the Community Prosperity Grant that we're doing some upgrades in Porter Boone Park. And we might need to do a few more upgrades if we do receive the grant in full, because we'll move some of the amenities from Mill Creek to Porter Boone Park. So there's going to be a lot of big, exciting park projects. We're going to be closed on June 12th. It's not a holiday. We're closing for what we call Records Management Day, another state requirement that we archive records and we keep those in a specific order. And we've got a good start, but we need to do some catch up. And so it's starting to get away from us. And we've been trying to do it. We've been scheduling a day, but then of course, when the doors are open, then people are pulling us in different directions. And I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to close the office. We'll all work that day, but we'll be working together, trying to get all the records up to date and in a good order. I'm happy to take you for a tour of our little archive room next time you're in City Hall. It's organized. I don't want to leave you that impression, but we've got a lot of files from the last 2 years. Every 2 years, we move those records to the archive room, and there's a lot, and it's just too much for one person to try to figure out where it all goes. So we're going to do it as a group. Look at my notes here. I know I have 2 other things real quick. One is we've done all our due diligence on the house and property that we're purchasing. The title report came back today. My understanding is it looks good. I just got it tonight before council. I haven't had a chance to look at it. We did a inspection of the home, and there's a pretty good list of things. We knew that there were going to be some things that needed to be improved, and we sent all of that. We've been very open and transparent with the owners. We sent that to them and asked if they would be willing to give us a little bit of a discount, and they did offer a discount. We haven't executed a amended purchase and sale with the new price that they offered, but it's about a $15,000 reduction to help with some of the improvements. And as long as council's good with me executing that amendment, I would do that. And then, of course, we'll have a closing date. Adela, because of her experience with closing, usually does review our closing documents. She's done, I don't know how many tens of thousands of closing documents, so she knows what to
40
look
years
for.
worth.
And usually I try to get the mayor to come and do the closing sign. So it looks like everything's moving along good. The only missing piece that we're still working on is funding. And we have applied for a loan through Business Oregon, and it does provide a little bit better than a bank rate. And so once we get that loan and it's approved, we'll have to come back to council. I'm not sure what the timing of that would be. It may be that we have to do a special meeting, or maybe it will fall in timing with our next meeting, but we will have to accept that loan. And so that you'll have to do before we can close. And then I did want to ask the council of their opinion on this. So we've always had the motto of the community has always been family friendly. And that's kind of been the expectation of things like how we organize our community events, especially if children are involved, right? A lot of our events are centered around families and children. And so we've used that as a guiding principle for things like the kinds of ads that we accept in our newsletter. We say we're only accepting family-friendly ads. And through some recent discussion, I have determined that we probably need to formally adopt a policy as a council versus me trying to decide what is family friendly. Really, the council needs to set that guideline. So we wrote up a sample policy, and I'd like to read it to you and see if that's what you imagine when you think family friendly and our limitations should be. Because I feel like the city really needs to have something that's formally adopted as a policy versus me just saying, I think that's good. And so here's the statement that I created. Our monthly newsletter is dedicated to maintaining positive, family-friendly environment for all readers. To support this goal, we only accept submissions that are appropriate for all ages, content involving tobacco, drugs paraphernalia, sexually suggestive material, or political topics will not be accepted. We reserve the right to decline any submissions that do not align with these standards. I don't know if that's where you think family friendly are the things that you want to accept, but we either have to create a policy or we have to accept ads that include those things. So
Again, did I?
just the last
Did I
part.
hear alcohol in there?
It says involving tobacco, drug paraphernalia, sexually suggestive material, or political act. It should say alcohol. Yeah, drugs,
Just wondering, I
alcohol.
saw.
If we put alcohol, then if we ever have an event that has a beer garden, then would we be able to advertise it in that policy?
Well, that's a
could-
darn good
And then
question.
like drugs, what are we talking about drugs? Like pharmaceutical drugs? Are we talking about like,
My thinking, if you don't mind,
yeah,
Yeah.
is I think as long as the ad doesn't call out that that's one of their features. So like Chevron they sell alcohol and they sell, Kratom or whatever.
Yeah.
But as long as their ad doesn't contain that, I would think we could. That's not
Well,
the thing.
in speaking with the city attorney about this, basically it's one of those things where if we accept an ad for alcohol, then we cannot prohibit it to anybody. So if we accept an ad for drugs or drug paraphernalia, basically what this says is we reserve the right to decline the submission that does not align with these standards. So it gives us some discretion. So yeah, if you're having a community event and it happens to serve alcohol and we're not saying alcohol, $12 a glass, I think that's fine. But if we're, saying, come get your drink, then to me, that's an ad for alcohol. But I think just because the community event or the store has alcohol,
And then-
unless it was a liquor store advertising and that's all they do, then.
So we would just say we wouldn't publish something that specifically advertises one of those.
Yeah, and you can
It
set
may be
this
involved
policy.
in the event, but
Yeah,
we're not gonna.
we're not gonna
Yeah.
advertise alcohol. We're not gonna advertise drugs. We're not
And
gonna
then
advertise, this type of material. I put political in there because there's no law that prohibits us
Beverages available.
from
Yeah, I just wanna
putting
make sure.
political ads in there, but I kind of drew that line a few years ago. It just doesn't feel right to me for us to have like council member ads in there that are running in our city, even if they're paying for it. Now, the law doesn't doesn't not allow that. As long as they're paying for it, it's allowed. But I think if we set this policy, then it's just a written. Now, you could say whatever you want. You could say tobacco products are fine, or you could say alcohol is fine. You could put in there whatever you want. I just came up with kind of where our standard has been, but I don't know if that's what you're thinking of, and that's why I wanted something that the council actually said, we agree with this.
I have another devil's advocate question. Is there a legal definition for sexually, what was the term you put? Explicit?
Suggested.
Suggestive. That could be subjective. What I think is sexually inappropriate could differ for somebody working as staff. So is there a legal definition that would be able to be provided in that?
Well, no, it just gives staff a little bit of teeth to be able to look at something and say, no, we think this falls into this category. I mean, we're not trying to like wordsmith it and define it. We're just trying to say, yes, we shouldn't be accepting that. So staff isn't running to me, saying, hey, should we take this or not take that? We just need to have a policy. And it provides me a foundation to say, I'm not just willy-nilly discriminating from one business to the next. There's some written policy that says,
Start getting too specific, then you've got to name every single thing that you would prohibit. As long as you keep it general, then you've got some discretion. The only thing I would think is it's not only the policy of the newsletter, it's the policy of the city as well as the policy of the. Even clearer, it's not just about the newsletter, it's about our entire community. That is.
I agree.
That's our end point.
And we have statements like this in our applications for like community events, for like Corn Festival and things like that. But just in reviewing a situation recently, I'm like, okay, well, we've made all these statements because that's what the city has always done, but we haven't really had our council say, yeah, this is what you should be doing. And I just thought it really, the council needs to say you're doing the right thing.
I'm not disagreeing by asking, I'm just
No.
asking clarifying questions.
Well, if it's ever challenged, we can certainly revisit it.
Yeah, and the other thing is let's say, for instance, later we want to look at this policy and redo it. We can do that. We just can't go backwards. So once we accept something, then we're always accepting it. So I don't think we've accepted any of these things. We have done political ads, but that's less of a family friendly and more just making a statement that we don't really want to be a political publication.
I think we should do it.
I agree.
Do you want me to read a policy that you guys could then, do you want me to reread it? Then you could approve it?
No. But I think we approve the idea of having a policy that covers that.
Do you need us to make a motion?
Would you
Well,
feel
that's what
better?
I'm asking for. I'm asking for a motion that says, yes, your policy as written is the policy of the council, or no,
Presented?
Right.
or no, it's not.
I move that we allow Ron to write a policy that reflects our wishes of having a family-friendly city and newsletter.
Second.
Being a second, is there any further discussion?
Yes. The correction to add, if you're going to have drugs and tobacco, that you have alcohol in that.
I don't,
Okay.
It just,
I thought it was in there. He said he was gonna add it.
I was gonna add it. I meant to add it. I thought I wrote it, but apparently.
okay, I just wanted, because it wasn't, or it isn't, but you've.
Well, I made two versions.
Okay.
So, but I like the second one better, but the first one said, to ensure our publication remains consistent with our community standards and audience expectations, we do not accept advertisements that promote tobacco, alcohol, drugs, drug-related paraphernalia, sexually suggestive material, or political content. The other one seemed a little softer. So how about if I marry the two?
Are you gonna draft the policy and bring it back to us, or?
Well, I really need to get something on my plate.
I think we're just directing you to write the policy. I mean, I trust you to write the policy.
Okay,
Reflect what we just talked about.
all right. I will so draft a policy.
We didn't vote.
I was just saying that, I think adding illegal drugs would be, but
Illegal drugs?
yeah.
You don't have any in Oregon.
What? I mean, you don't have any argument.
Think somebody's gonna post an ad for,
I
type.
like drugs, so
I mean, we could get ads for
Okay.
marijuana, we could get ads for
Hasn't been a
stipend, we
right?
could, it hasn't, but if we don't have a policy in place and we get it, then
Don't think it makes sense to have no alcohol because that's legal, but.
yeah, that's, I was gonna say, I'm not comfortable with no alcohol. I mean, I'm just not.
well,
Yeah. So, but we can vote. I mean, we can vote on it. That's fine. I mean, that's why we have this
I'm
process.
asking you.
I think you've got the discretion, but I kind of see, if we have a new drugged for something, I don't see it necessary to advertise that in our city paper. They can take an ad out in the Statesman or buy a billboard or whatever for that. They want to advertise some new drug, some new pharmaceutical. That's not the intent of our. It's for community events and announcements, and it's not for promoting that kind of stuff. That's not. It's just a community newsletter, and I think we should be able to limit our community newsletter to significant community, family-friendly advertisement or ads.
Yeah, and as you know, in Oregon, there's no clear-cut law. Everything's splintered into two different arguments, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, somebody could come back and argue something. That's why, they could argue an infringement of freedom of speech. That's why I wanted to have something written, so I feel like I'm acting at least on behalf of the direction.
Well, we do have a second. Do we have further discussion?
I mean, I would entertain changing the motion if somebody feels we need to. That's what I said I would, and do we need to? Because I would.
You're the one that made the motion. so-
I know that. That's what I'm asking the question. Nobody feels that way. Okay, then stand.
All right. Okay, so being no further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
No. The motion passes almost unanimously with one objection. Is there anything else?
Unless you have questions for me.
No. Moving on to, where am I at? Mayor and councilor reports.
We've been trying to figure that out.
I know this, I'm lost. Does anyone have anything to report?
You.
Wonderful.
We had the MWAC meeting here last Thursday.
Are we voting?
That's on SCAT.
This is her
That's
report.
good.
And I got to talk to Lanny, who's the public engineer for Marion County, about our two issues here, and she's getting answers back for me. So I hope to report those in the next few weeks.
Want to recap the two issues?
The speed limit on Mill Creek Road
Mhm.
being reduced to 35 and our crosswalk for the schools. So let you know that I was able to do that. We had a great meeting. Enjoyed coming and seeing our little town.
I saw it on the calendar and I could not get away from work. I tried to get the coverage, but
Thank you.
I knew it was in good hands.
Yeah. So just wanted to let you know. They had initially denied the crosswalk because they weren't aware that we'd had a death over there. And that has changed things dramatically after our discussion.
Never mind.
Because these people haven't been here as long as when that happened.
Okay.
So I showed her the obituary and what it said, and she's like, oh, that changes the whole picture.
That's awesome. Anyone else have anything to report? Okay. Moving on to good of the order. Is there anything for good of the order? Okay, none. We have no correspondence and no executive session. We can now go ahead and close the meeting at 7:48 p.m.